So this is the first of 7 classes introducing the program. And like, I guess all of the programs in CIIS, we're very program conscious. You know, we really pay a lot of attention to who we are and what we do. And we know that, unlike, say, suppose it was a program in introduction to, you know, history or literature or whatever else, which you can, they have those names in other schools. But there's no other school with the name philosophy, cosmology, and consciousness. So we know that you're coming for this particular curriculum and set of faculty. So in an attempt to make all that really explicit and maybe even exciting, we have these lectures set up. Okay? So first I want to introduce Kathy Ann, who is a doctoral student. Berkeley, did you do the master's here? I forget that.
I did my master's here.
The master's here, now doing a doctorate at dissertation level, right? And Kathy Ann is here to help if just anything that you can't catch me, you want to catch her instead or whatever, she's happy to be helpful, and she will be. And she helped last year, right? Mm-hmm. And then Kathy Ann and I will give the 6th class on sort of summarizing themes. And then Kathy Ann will give the 7th class with Elizabeth Allison, who many of you, probably all of you, almost all of you met on Tuesday, right? No longer new faculty, she's now in her 2nd year. And they will give the last class on the transition from the beginning, which is this course, to the ending, which is also a transition called Integrative Seminar. All right? So now Brian is giving the first lecture, and that's kind of appropriate. Rick Tarnas is the founder of the program, but he didn't do it alone. Hardly anybody does anything alone. But he's the primary founder, and it was more or less his vision, and he had the appointment to start something like this. All right. But Brian was, in a certain sense, here before any of us, because with the funding from Lawrence Rockefeller, who is a very, very special person to, certainly to Brian and myself. This is one of the senior brother Rockefellers who funded this program and in the school in a very, very remarkable way. Brian was here with the funding of Lawrence Rockefeller. It was first called Science and Spirituality. Center for Science and Spirituality. But you were moving it towards Center for the Story of the Universe, right? And I remember thinking to myself, what's this deal about universe, story of the universe, whatever? But I learned after a while, it's really important, as you'll hear. So if you haven't read Thomas Berry, that's one of the first things to do. So Brian was here already with an eye toward science, spirituality, story of the universe, the vision of Thomas Berry, and a group of people in this area who had similar ideas. And there was a wonderful conference, that must have been '89.
Depends on which one.
That's true. The one that I knew about was '89. But there was one.
What was the name of it?
No idea. But lots of interesting people came. Okay, but there were several. Anyway, Brian was in the middle of it. Brian doesn't like this introduction. But I'm
I like it. I'll smile, okay.
But it's not for him. He knows all this. It's for you that I'm telling you these things.
Really enjoying it.
Okay, good. His eyes, but it's fine. So that's, so then, lots of things changed in 1990 because Lawrence Rockefeller gave me $5 million when I was appointed president, and we were able to make lots of interesting innovations and lift the school. And then I already hadn't, I forgot a part. I didn't forget, I didn't get around to it. Brian and Rick Tarnas and I met at Esalen at a conference called Revisioning Philosophy. It was actually many disciplines, it wasn't just philosophy. But that's how we met. The 3 of us became close friends. And then when I was appointed president, of course, I had in mind Rick and Brian. And there's a chair here. And so you know, step by step, you know, a little bit, could get away with this, get away with that sort of thing. And then we appointed Rick in 1993 to a program called Philosophy and Religion, which is actually the program Asian Comparative now. All right. And he then had in mind, he and I had in mind that he would start something new, but we didn't know what. I didn't know, actually, some things that Rick was interested in as well, as I found out later. That was all very interesting. And, but, you know, very diplomatically, etc. He then gathered around him Brian, who of course wanted from the beginning, and David Delancey came, and Charlene Spretnak, and Stan Groff, and many other remarkable people all came in this wild, exciting time with a lot of funding and a lot of lifting of the school and making it visible, and etc. So then there was slowly changes and program getting stronger and more stable and whatever else. And then then it was named Philosophy, Cosmology, Consciousness, and of course the cosmology part is what Brian has brought and brings. But Brian does what we all try to do, which is when he does cosmology, he already has his eye on philosophy, and of course he's speaking in terms of consciousness and changing consciousness. And so there's a lot of sort of interest in lifting what we're doing. You have a spot? Okay. There's a spot here. Okay, just you. Brian's work is cosmological and the very broad, it's scientifically based, but it's very broad in its affect. It has a profound poetic, imaginative quality. Imagination is not a negative word, it's the most positive word. Okay. And so when you read The Universe is a Green Dragon, which I just reread last week, and you'll have a great, if you haven't already, and you should have actually by today. So if you didn't, hurry up. So you'll see this wonderful openness to the revelation of the universe, that the cosmos is present to him in a remarkable way. And I don't know what he's going to talk about today, but he's going to do Brian, and that's good. So what we have in this, the PCC and the C in the middle is the cosmology, is a way of being present to the universe, and the universe being present to us in a way that is deepening, lifting, but also represents the possibility of restoring us, in a certain sense, to our proper home. Which I am slow to learn, but Brian and I teach together now and then, and we have long talks, and slowly I'm learning what many of you probably already know. So it's quite a wonderful thing that we're starting with the big picture, the cosmos, right? And their powers. He's not saying what he's going to do. Whatever he does, it'll be great. So that's all. I'm going to pass to Brian.